Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Monarch deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that doesn't play an extra deck, which makes it super affordable to be able to pick up, and it's a super powerful deck because it plays cards like Vanity's Fiend and even the Domain Lock to totally shut down your opponent, which is an insanely powerful combo in this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Erebus the Underworld Monarch. This card is an extremely powerful card that you always want to play at 3 in this deck. That is the ability that you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 tribute summoned monster. And that means that basically you can normal summon this card out to your side of the field by tributing 1 tribute summoned monster instead of having to tribute 2 monsters on your side of the field. So this card is a really powerful card that's very easy to summon to your field. It also has an insanely powerful effect that if this card is tribute summoned, then you can send 2 Monarch spells or traps with different names from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, shuffle a card from your opponent's hand at random, graveyard, or their side of the field into the deck, which is extremely powerful because it doesn't target. It also has the ability that once per turn during either player's main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can discard a Monarch spell or trap and then target a monster in your graveyard with 2400 more attack and 1000 defense and add it to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to get the exact card that you need in your hand. We then play 3 copies of Aether, the Heavenly Monarch. This card is a great card as well because this card has the ability, just like Erebus, that you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 tribute summoned monster. And if this card is tribute summoned, you get to send 2 Monarch spells or traps with different names from your deck or hand to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon 1 monster with 2400 more attack and 1000 defense from your deck, which is a great effect to be able to get the exact monster you want on your side of the field. It also has the ability that you return that card to your hand during the end phase, which is great because then you get to tribute summon it out to your side of the field again to get its effect off. So it also has the ability that during your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your hand, you can banish a Monarch spell or trap from your graveyard to immediately after this card resolves, tribute summon this card. And it's a quick effect which can be used very defensively on your side, on your turn, and also be able to use it during your opponent's turn to be able to summon to your field and get you a really powerful monster on the field to defend your life points. We then play 3 copies of Vanity's Fiend. This card is an insanely powerful card because it has a very simple effect, and it's probably one of the best monsters to be able to tribute summon out to your side of the field, that it cannot be special summoned and neither player can special summon monsters. This card is an insanely powerful card just about in any deck that can tribute summon it out because it totally locks down special summoning, which can totally shut down the majority of the decks in the entire game, which is extremely powerful. This card is an amazing card at 3 and can completely shut down your opponent if you just put this card on your side of the field and then pass over to them because they can't special summon. We then play a single copy of Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend is a great card because it can't be special summoned, but monster effects cannot be activated. This card is a little bit different than your copy of Vanity's Fiend because Vanity's Fiend has 1200 defense, where this card has 1000 defense, so you can actually search this card, which is why we're playing just a single copy of Majesty's Fiend, but 3 copies of Vanity's Fiend because you do have to draw into the copy of Vanity's Fiend, which is the only downside to Vanity's Fiend. The copy of Majesty's Fiend is here because it does shut down all sorts of monster effects because monster effects cannot be activated. So this card is basically a better skill drain because it has 2400 attack as well. We then play a single copy of Karaz the Light Monarch. Karaz the Light Monarch has the ability that when this card is normal or special summon, then you get to target 2 cards on the field and destroy those targets. And if you do, each player gets to draw a card for every card that they controlled that was destroyed, which is a great effect to be able to let yourself draw a card if you need it, or let your opponent draw a card if you need to out a card, because sometimes your opponent will put something on the field that you don't have another way to out in this deck. So this card is super helpful, especially to special summon off your copy of Aether, which is just such a powerful combo. We then play 3 copies of the Upstart Goblin card for the Pendulum cards. This card is really good because it's the ability, if you have no cards in your extra deck except this card, then you can destroy this card and then draw a card. And you can only use this effect of this card once per turn, but it's an extremely powerful card in this deck because it's basically 3 Upstart Goblins, which is why we definitely want to play this card as a 3 of. We then play 3 copies of Ida the Heavenly Squire. This card is really good because it has the ability that if this card is normal or special summoned, then you can special summon a monster monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense from your deck in defense position except another copy of itself, and also you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, which is not a big deal because we don't even play an extra deck. It also has the ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you get to target one of your banished Monarch spells or traps and add it to your hand, which is pretty good because we have cards like Pantheism in this deck that you're going to want to get back. We then play 2 copies of the Underworld Squire. Underworld Squire is the card that you're going to be normally special summoning off the copy of the Heavenly Squire, and it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, then during your main phase this turn, you can tribute summon a monster in addition to your normal summoner set, and you can also banish this card from your graveyard and then target a monarch with, or a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense in your graveyard except another copy of this card and special summon it in defense position, but you can't special summon monsters for your extra deck for the rest of the turn, which is again not that big of a deal in this deck because you're not special summoning from the extra deck at all because we don't really play an extra deck. We then play for the last monster, just a single copy of Mithra, the Thunder Vassal. This card has a really good special summon because it has the ability, if this card is in your hand, then you can activate this effect that you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn after this card is special summoned. And if you do, special summon a Vassal token that's a Thunder Light, level 1, 800 attack, and 1000 defense to your opponent's field in defense position. And if this card is tribute summoned for a tribute summon of a monster, you can activate this effect that you can tribute summon one monster during your main phase, in addition to your normal summoner set, which is pretty good because you can basically just get this card on your side of the field, and then once you do, you give your opponent a token, and then you can normal summon out to your side of the field like a Vanity's Fiend, and then you can also tribute that Vanity's Fiend to then special summon out, or excuse me, normal summon out either the Ether or the Erebus, which is a really powerful effect. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good because it will search out your copies of your Heavenly Squire, which is a really good thing for this deck to grab that card from the deck. Play a single copy of 1 for 1 because it can special summon out your level 1s from the deck, like your copy of the Heavenly Squire. 1 copy of Foolish Burial to get the exact monster you need in the graveyard when you need it. 1 copy of March of the Monarchs, because this card has the ability to tribute summon monsters that you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck. This card is an extremely powerful card to search from the deck to be able to just protect your monsters on your side of the field. You play 2 copies of Return of the Monarchs. This card is a really awesome card because it has the ability that you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck, and when you tribute summon a monster, you can activate one of these effects to add from your deck to your hand a monster with 2400 attack and 1000 defense with a different name from the tribute summoned monster that you just summoned, or add from your deck to your hand one monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense with different names from the monster that you just tribute summoned, and the tribute summoned monster must be face on the field to activate and resolve this effect. But it's a really good card because basically you can use this card to search out literally any of your cards that you're going to tribute summon from the deck, like your copies of your Erebus, your copy of Ether, or even your copy of Majesty's Fiend, but you cannot search out your copy of Vanity's Fiend because it has 1200 defense. We then play 3 copies of Pantheism of the Monarchs, one of the craziest cards in this card deck's entire archetype. It has the ability that you can send a Monarch spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. That's a really powerful effect because you're going to get to draw that 2. It has the ability also that you can banish a card from your graveyard to reveal 3 Monarch spells or traps from your deck and shuffle them, or your opponent randomly chooses one of them and adds it to your hand, and then you shuffle the rest of them back into the deck. So you can actually reveal with this card 3 copies of Tenacity of the Monarchs, which will actually get you the search of the exact card that you want, which is really good. But if you already have Tenacity in your hand and you've got 2 in the deck, you can reveal the card that you want and also 2 more copies of Tenacity to be able to ensure that you're going to get the exact card that you want, because Tenacity has a really neat effect that basically lets you reveal a monster in your hand with 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense, or one monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense to add a Monarch spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is really good because you can just reveal 3 of it with your copy of Pantheism to be able to get the exact card that you need from the deck. So this card is a great 3 of in the deck as a searcher, especially backed up with your copy of Pantheism. We then play 3 copies of the Monarch Stormforth. This card is an insanely powerful card in this deck because it has the ability that you can once per turn, if you would tribute summon a monster for a tribute summon, then you can tribute a monster your opponent controls if you controlled it, which is an insanely powerful effect because this card can out literally any card in the game by basically turning all of your copies of your monsters in this deck into kaijus, but you get to keep the kaiju, which is an insanely powerful effect to be able to just tribute your opponent's monsters, especially when they're playing something extremely powerful that you want to out. This card can basically just out anything that you need to out without a tribute summon monster in your hand. We then play the most powerful field spell, or one of the most powerful field spells in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is 3 copies of Domain of the True Monarchs. Now, this card is an insanely powerful card that has the ability that while you have no cards in your extra deck, and you are the only player that controls a tribute summoned monster, your opponent can't special summon monsters from the extra deck, totally locking down your opponent's extra deck. This card is an insanely powerful card, and one of the best cards in the entire game, in my opinion. It also has the ability that if a tribute summoned monster you control attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack, boosting your copies of your Ether and Erebus up to 3,600, and any of your monsters that have 2,400 all the way up to 3,200, which is pretty big to deal with. It also has the ability that once per turn, you can reduce the level of one monster with 2,800 attack and 1,000 defense in your hand by 2 until the end of the turn, which is a pretty powerful effect to be able to reduce all your monsters that have 2,800 attack that are all level 8 down to level 6s, so you only have to tribute one monster, which comboed with the Monarch Stormforth is a 1-card tribute summon, which is pretty good to be able to just get rid of an opponent's monster by using the Domain to be able to tribute summon out one of your big Monarch monsters. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing just a few traps, and then it's a single copy of Escalation of the Monarchs. I go back between playing no copies of this card and a single copy of this card. This card's pretty good because it has the ability that once per turn during your opponent's main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can immediately after this card resolves, tribute summon a monster, which is pretty powerful to be able to summon out a copy of, say, an Erebus during your opponent's main phase, to be able to just shuffle a card back from their field or their hand into the deck, while also sending 2 cards that you need into the graveyard with this card's effect. It's a really good card, and I really like this card as a one-of in the deck. And then we play 2 copies of the Prime Monarch. The Prime Monarch is a basically token monster that has the ability that once per turn, you can target 2 Monarch spells or traps in your graveyard and shuffle them back in the deck and then draw a card, which is already a pretty good effect. And it also has the ability that you can banish 1 other Monarch spell or trap from your graveyard to special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster that's a fairy type light, level 5, 1,000 attack, 2,400 defense, and it's not treated as a trap card while it's on the field. So this card is a really good card to just put on your side of the field by banishing any of those cards and then tribute it off for a tribute summon, always giving you a card for your tribute summons. And this card is the main card that you're going to want to send to the graveyard along with the Pantheism for your effects of your Erebus and your copy of Ether. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really awesome deck. It's very affordable to actually pick up, and one of the decks I've actually been playing in Master Duels, and this deck is actually completely playable in Master Duels. If you guys would like to check this deck out and play it on there, definitely let me know how it goes, because this deck is super powerful and one of my main picks to be able to play online with this deck. It's super fun and it's a really amazing deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.